Alex Parker pulled his duffel across the echoing docking bay and tried not to stare at the curved walls. The prisoner station at Red Dwarf 8 looked more like an old grain silo than a high-security outpost. Paint flaked off bulkheads, cables dangled like jungle vines somewhere in the ventilation. Coolant dripped a steady beat that reminded him of spring rain back on Earth. He told himself that was a good sign. If water could leak, air could too. He just had to trust the filters kept the poison outside where it belonged. His orders were clear. Watch one prisoner, Queen Leora of the Azeri Rebellion. No harsh methods. No interrogation. No conversation unless she spoke first. The brass feared that taunting a captive monarch might fuel the war. Alex found it odd they sent only a single corporal for such a task. But he was used to filling holes in the roster. He had spent half his childhood rewiring broken farm bots when parts were scarce. He could patch anything with tape and hope. People included Commander Lee, a thin woman who looked as tired as the hull. Met him at the security kiosk. She spoke like static from an old radio, clipped and slow. Corporal Parker, Cell 7B, prisoners isolated. Your rotating partner arrives in 2 weeks. Until then, you are the guard force. She glanced at his empty belt. No baton. Regulations allowed discretion. Mum, Alex answered. She's shackled. I can keep a safe distance. Lee's eyebrows rose, but she nodded. Fine. Don't get yourself killed. The walk to 7B was silent except for that ever-present drip, drip, drip. Alex wondered if the station's builders forgot to mute all sound. Maybe as a reminder that nothing here was perfect. He decided he liked it. Perfect places. Never felt alive. The final blast door slid aside. Cell 7B opened like a stage curtain, revealing a single hexagonal room lit by soft amber panels. Transparent walls formed the cell, thick enough to stop artillery. Inside sat Leora. She was younger than Alex expected, barely older than him, but she held herself with the stillness of stone. Her dark blue skin, almost midnight, contrasted with a white tunic and silver cuffs securing her wrists. A crown of metallic tendrils circled her short hair. Her violet eyes tracked Alex as he stepped into the guard alcove. Good morning, he said. Voice gentle. I'm Corporal Parker. I'll be on duty. She tilted her head, expression unreadable. Human formality, she murmured, words accented by a subtle trill. Is the salute meant to comfort me? No salute, Your Majesty. Just manners. My mom says courtesy costs nothing and sometimes pays back. Leora's gaze flicked to his hands. No weapon. She offered no reply, retreating into silence as steady as the dripping coolant. Alex began his shift. He ran diagnostics on the cell's fields, checked food dispensers, and logged readings. The station's systems were borderline antique. He spent 10 minutes coaxing the temperature sensor to stop blinking error codes. When he finished, he placed a sealed flask of warm water in the transfer slot. The computer cycled it inside. Leora glanced at the flask, hesitated, then lifted it with cuffed hands. It is warm, she said. Surprised, proper hydration keeps the immune system happy, Alex replied with a small smile. And this block is chilly, red dwarf stars. Put out weak light. Habitats here ran cold to save power. Liora sipped, eyeing him over the rim. Some tension left her shoulders. Alex turned away, giving her privacy even though walls were transparent. He pulled out a worn notebook. Instead of watching her every move, he sketched maintenance plans, new sealant for the coolant, pipe, fresh filter screens, busy hands kept. Nerves quiet. Hours passed. At mid-shift, Alex opened his ration pack. Freeze-dried stew into protein bars, both bland. He remembered intel claiming Azeri could not digest human food, but he suspected the Queen was hungry anyway. He separated one protein bar, set it in the slot, and pushed it through. Taste might be strange, he said, but it's fuel. If it upsets your stomach, I'll get medical kits. Leora stared at the bar. You give me your own portion. There's enough. He shrugged. Supply transport comes tomorrow. She studied him as if seeking a hidden chain. Finally, she broke the bar, smelled it, then nibbled. Her eyes widened not from flavor, Alex knew, but from the simple facts someone shared. She nodded once, a gesture of reluctant respect. Shift ended. Alex lifted his duffel to the bunk room. The quarter lights dimmed to night cycle. Yet sleep dodged him. He thought about Leora behind transparent walls, about how lonely a rebel queen must feel with no court, no allies, only dripping pipes for music. He wondered what kindness could achieve in a place built for despair. Next morning, alarms shattered the quiet. Red strobes flashed, solar flare impact power spikes detected, an automated voice droned. Alex jumped from his bunk, boots half fastened, and sprinted to engineering. Current surged through relay. Coils, sparks scattered like angry fireflies. A coolant pipe hissed, spraying toxic vapor. If the life support processors overheated, oxygen would thin in minutes. He grabbed a welding torch, clipped on a flimsy mask, and dove toward the breach. Molten sparks burned his sleeve. But he sealed the crack. Readings stabilized, yet a bigger problem loomed. The cell block's backup power was offline, meaning force fields around Leora's cell were running on batteries. Failure there could suffocate her or drop shields that kept raw radiation out. Alex raced back, lungs aching. He sealed doors behind him to keep pressure steady, entering the observation chamber. He saw Leora pressed to the glass, eyes wide with something between fear and fury. He waved to show he was alive. Then he pried open a floor hatch, climbed into cramped conduits, and hot-wired a bypass feed so emergency cells drew from main power again. 15 frantic minutes later, green lights blinked across the control board. Safety restored. Alex sagged against the wall, heat exhaustion blurring vision. He heard the drip, 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 faster now, like applause. A soft voice cut through. Parker. Leora said, for the first time using his name, you could have left, yet you risked death to fix my cage. Fix the station, he corrected. With a tired grin, your cell's part of the station. She stepped closer to the glass. My people believe humans are clever, but cruel. Today you prove half of that wrong. Alex managed a mock salute. Just doing my job, Your Majesty. She studied him, then spoke quieter. Call me Leora. He blinked. The shift from titles felt like sunrise after endless night. All right, Leora. A crackle sounded on his wrist. Commander Lee ordering status reports. Alex replied. Voice calm though his hand still trembled. When the channel closed, he glanced at Leora again. Her expression was softer, almost thoughtful. A buzzer announced mealtime. Alex placed another protein bar and a small packet of honey in the slot. Treat, he said. Earth bees make it. Sweet stuff raises morale. Leora accepted, turning the golden packet in her fingers as if it were rare treasure. Thank you, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Alex sat back at his console. Soreness pulsed through his arm where a weld spark had kissed skin. Yet inside he felt lighter. The first brick of a wall between enemies had shifted, and somewhere deep in the station, the steady drip of coolant sounded almost like rain finally finding soil. 2 days after the solar flare, the tiny station drifted in calm darkness. Power was stable again. Yet the supply shuttle that should have arrived was still missing. The folders on Alex's console showed red alerts, food stores at 20%, medical kits at 10%. Only water was plentiful because the recycler kept humming. Alex frowned but kept his worry inside. A guard who panics makes prisoners panic twice as hard. His shift began with the usual routine checks. The coolant drip had slowed, thanks to the weld he placed. But every few minutes a hollow plink echoed down the corridor like a ticking clock. Alex whispered a greeting to the sound, grateful it still told him the pipes were alive. In cell 7B, Leora stood near the transparent wall, arms folded. Her cuffs were lighter now, adjusted so she could move. The station doctor had declared heavy restraints cruel for a non-violent captive. Commander Lee agreed, perhaps because Leora's calm demeanor helped keep the rest of the prisoners silent. Alex tapped the status pad. Good morning, Leora. Temperature is steady, oxygen is clean. Any discomfort? She tilted her head, studying him again with those violet eyes. You always ask, even though you know I will not complain. One day you might, he replied, softly, and I'd rather be ready. He slid her breakfast through the slot, half of his own meal pack, portioned neatly. It was mostly dried fruit and one small protein slice. Leora lifted the slice, weighing it like evidence. You look thinner than when you arrived, she said. Could be the station lighting, Alex joked. Makes everyone look stretched. Leora raised an eyebrow. If you starve while I eat, your superiors will blame me. Alex met her gaze. Then let's agree neither of us will starve. I'm rationing for both. She nodded once, slowly, as if filing the gesture into a new category, human stubbornness expressed through kindness. After breakfast, Alex performed maintenance rounds. Monitors flashed orange. The main food printer's algae cartridges were empty. Restock was critical. He ran diagnostics, swore under his breath when the screen announced delivery ETA, unknown. The station lay far from main routes, a flare. Storm had probably diverted cargo traffic. Back in the control alcove, he tapped a private message to headquarters, requesting emergency drone drop. The channel crackled but gave no answer. The hours dragged. Leora spent time pacing, humming low, notes that sounded like a wind through hollow stone. Alex listened while tightening screws on a broken vent. That song, he asked, is it from Azeri culture? Leora stopped. It is from my mother. She sang it before taking us to safe places during wartime. Her voice softened on the word mother. Alex smiled gently. My mom used to sing when clouds brought heavy rain. I fixed robots beside her, and we sang louder than the storm. Leora's eyes brightened with curiosity. Tell me of these rain clouds. Azeri worlds are arid. So Alex described earth storms, gray skies stretching forever, air filled with the scent of soil, and water dancing on tin roofs. He spoke slowly, using simple words, and drew waves in the air. Leora listened, cheeks relaxing, hands uncrossing. For a brief moment, prisoner and guard became to people sharing weather stories. Buzzer interrupted. Warning, the computer droned. Nutrient reserves at critical threshold. Alex exhaled. He opened his last protein bar, snapped it in half, and slipped a piece to Leora. The other half he saved for himself, a plan he never intended to. Followed out hours later, fatigue crept over him. Radiation pills dulled his senses, and thirst scratched his throat. Still, he refused to sit. He checked conduit seals, recorded airflow stats. Leora watched. Without warning, a klaxon blared. Life support pump C offline. Manual restart required. Alex's pulse raced. Pump C pushed fresh air into 3 cell blocks, including Leora's. If it stayed down, carbon dioxide would build fast. He grabbed a toolkit. I'll fix it. He called. Take assistance, Leora urged across the glass. Send for another human. No time. I'm closest. He flashed a grin. And you trust my welding. He jogged down a crawlway, shoulders brushing metal. The pump chamber was cramped, the fault obvious, a valve stuck half open, hissing. Alex pried at it with a wrench, sparks biting his gloves. The valve refused. Each second mattered. He imagined Leora breathing stale air, her tunic clinging tight. He pulled a manual override lever. The valve spun free, slamming shut, then reopened the right way. Airflow gauges spiked to green. Alex sagged onto the deck plates, lungs burning. Back at 7B. He flashed a thumbs up through the clear wall. Leora let out a breath he felt more than heard. His comm beeped. Commander Lee. Good work, Corporal. Status on food stores. We're dry, Alex admitted. Request permission to access emergency seed bank. We can process algae from scratch. Authorized. But you need for days to grow enough. Alex raked fingers through his hair. I'll stretch the rations, Lee's voice softened. Don't forget to stretch yourself, too. The next dawn cycle arrived with no shuttle and 1 protein slice left. Alex split it again. When he placed Leora's portion in the slot, she shook her head. Keep it. Your body repairs this station. Mine does nothing. Wrong, Alex said, eyes earnest. Your comm keeps other inmates calm. No riots. No extra stress on life support. That saves everyone. He left the slice in the tray. After a long pause, Leora accepted. By mid-shift, Alex's hands trembled from hunger. He leaned against the console, forcing focus. Leora noticed. You shake, she said. Low sugar. He replied, trying to joke. I dance better with coffee. She frowned. Release my cuffs for 1 hour. I will cook. Alex blinked. Cook? With what? She pointed to the cell's wall printer. Azeri genes can process biogel from filter waste. Your systems flush such gel as trash. I can rebind it into edible discs. Commander Lee denied the request at first security. Risk? Leora argued through the intercom, voice steady. If your soldier collapses, you lose your guard force. Perhaps impressed, or perhaps because the station's sensors showed Alex's dropping vitals. Lee compromised. Cuffs remain, but the printer port would unlock for Leora's program. Leora placed both cuffed hands on the holo keys, coding with graceful motions. Soon, thin disk screen and slightly glowing formed on the tray. Alex eyed them warily. Safe, Leora promised. Tastes like salted moss. He bit one. Chewy, earthy, not terrible. Within minutes, strength edged back into his limbs. Color returned to his cheeks. He exhaled, relieved. You just saved me from keeling over. Consider us equal now. Leora said, a faint smile tugging at her lips. The rest of the cycle passed in quiet cooperation. Leora produced enough discs for the other prisoners. Alex delivered them, ignoring surprised looks. Rumors spread that the rebel queen fed the humans. For the first time since the station opened, the Carters felt hopeful. Late that night, Alex sat outside 7B, knees drawn to chest. Leora approached the wall and spoke softly. Parker, why did you join your army? He thought of farmland, swallowed by debt, of scholarships requiring service, of adventure he once craved. To see stars, he answered after a while. I wanted to help keep people safe while doing it. Leora pressed a palm against the glass. You do keep people safe, even me. Alex lifted his hand, mirroring her gesture through the barrier. Warmth did not pass, yet something like it did inside both hearts. Then, faint at first, came the distant roar of engines. Sensors flashed, unidentified ship dropping from warp. Alex stood, alert. Leora's eyes narrowed. That signature Imperial design. Fear pricked Alex's spine. Supply shuttle or threat? He opened a secure channel to Commander Lee, but static hissed back. The stranger had jammed their COMMS. Alarms triggered. Red lights spun. In the cell, Leora straightened, regal once more. They come for me, she said, and they will kill everyone who has shown mercy. Alex checked his sidearm, only stun rounds. He glanced at Leora. Then we better be ready. As klaxons howled and bulkheads slammed shut, guard and queen prepared for a storm far deadlier than hunger. Neither knew that the bond forged by shared food and risk would soon decide the fate of every soul on the station and beyond. The docking bay wall shook as the strange warship locked onto the station's outer ring. Metal groaned, alarms wailed, and red lights painted every corridor in warning colors. Alex Parker felt the vibration through his boots and guessed heavy. Grapples had sunk claws into the hull. If the invaders cut the station open, life support might bleed into space within minutes. He pulled a slim stun rifle from the emergency rack, a weapon meant for ride control, not real soldiers, and sprinted towards cell block 7. Commander Lee's voice crackled softly through short-range speakers, half buried by static. All guards, secure your sectors. Unknown boarding party. Protect high-value prisoner. Her words ended in a shrill shriek of interference. The enemy jammer was strong. Alex reached Leora's cell. Transparent walls flashed yellow, the first sign of power strain. He punched the override panel and stepped into the guard alcove. Leora stood tall in the center of her chamber, cuffs still on, but head high, violet eyes sharp. They come for me, she said. Calm as starless night. Alex nodded, breathing fast. Yes, I think it's an Imperial extraction squad. No, she corrected softly. Extraction implies stealth. This is eradication. They will kill witnesses, then claim rebels murdered me. Her words chilled him. Then we have to move you before they breach. Outside, a thud echoed, magnetic torches carving new doors in the hull. Time slid away like sand in broken glass. Alex keyed open the inner door and entered the cell. Stunning rifle lowered. I need your help, he said. But security rules say these cuffs stay on. Leora lifted chained wrists. Leave one wrist bound, she offered. It will satisfy your protocol, and I can still work. She gestured to the toolkit on Alex's belt. In normal days, he would refuse. Now he tapped the release once. The left cuff clicked open. The right stayed locked to a thin belt at her waist. Leora flexed free fingers, pain ghosting across her face, then masked it. "Follow me," Alex whispered. They left the cell and hurried down a service tunnel narrow, filled with dust and cables. Coolant still dripped somewhere behind the station's heartbeat. At the end of the tunnel, a ladder rose to maintenance deck 3, a spot with old bulkhead doors thick enough to slow even plasma cutters. Halfway up, the floor lurched. A distant boom rolled through the frame. Alex nearly lost his grip. Air pressure dipped just a sliver, but it meant at least one hull seal was failing. Boarding craft docked at Sector A2. The computer announced in a shaky monotone. Before cutting out entirely, Alex set his jaw. "They're inside. We seal maintenance 3. Then call Lee." But Lee no longer answered. The jammer blanketed officer channels. Only local mesh links worked, and even those sputtered. They stepped onto deck 3. Emergency lamps gave faint red glow, barely enough to see stacked supply crates. Alex slid the big door shut and cranked manual bolts until his shoulders burned. Leora helped steady the metal, her chain hand clinking softly. Gunfire cracked. Below, sharp, metallic barks that made Alex's heart stumble. Imperial Marines carried rail carbines. One slug could punch through 3 steel walls. The stun rifle in his grip felt like a toy. "To survive," Leora said, "we turn there. Discipline against them." She pointed at a wall panel marked with the Azeri glyph for power. "That relay feeds every comm helmet in their suits. If we splice a loop, I can speak to them all." Alex raised eyebrows. "Your voice might slow them. Some still follow." "Me," she replied. "Others fear the Emperor more. But hearing me may divide their aim." Alex pried the panel, passed her micropliers from his kit. She worked quickly, fingers nimble despite the single cuff. Sparks danced as she crossed wires. He patched his wrist mic to the node. "Channel open," he whispered. Loud footsteps clanged in the corridor beyond the door. Leora inhaled, then spoke in her own tongue, short, clear sentences. Alex understood only fragments, but felt the weight like steady drums. When she finished, silence hung outside. Then a deep voice shouted an order. Boots resumed, but slower. Uncertain. They had moments. Alex dragged crates, forming a waist-high barricade. Leora pushed beside him, strength surprising for her slender frame. She picked up a metal rod. A broken pie pan stood ready. Door bolts glowed orange where plasma cutters bit. The lock weakened. With a final shower of sparks, the slab dropped. Inward, 5 armored Marines surged through, their white helmets bearing Imperial sigils. Yet they hesitated, guns raised, but fingers slack caught between training and Queen's command. Alex fired a stun burst at the lead soldier. Blue Orcs danced. The Marine convulsed and collapsed, armor clattering. Another Marine reacted too late. Leora swung the pipe, striking his wrist. His rail carbine skittered across the deck. Alex dove, scooped it up, and tossed it behind them. Crates out of easy reach. "Stand down," Leora shouted in common tongue now, voice ringing. By royal decree, cease hostility. To Marines lowered weapons, shoulders tense. A third lifted her rifle high, hesitating. But a squad leader behind them barked, "False Queen. Orders are clear, remove her, then purge the station." The loyalists opened fire. Alex pulled Leora behind the barricade as slugs slammed, sparks and shards flying. He returned stun bursts. One shot hit a helmet visor, knocking its owner back. But stun packs were few. Leora knelt, chin low. "They will overpower us soon." Alex checked corners. To the left, a crawl duct led to the environmental core. He pointed. "If we can reach the central comm tower, my computer can broadcast your message across the fleet, not just helmets. Maybe enough captains will listen." She nodded, determination shining. They slipped into the duct while stray rounds echoed behind them. Alex sealed the grate with quick weld beads to slow pursuit. The smell of burnt alloy filled the narrow passage. They crawled single file, air-hot and thick. Leora's chain scraped metal, but distance and Ben's muffled noise. Alex's mind raced. Find comm tower, Connect amplifier. Send message. Simple steps, yet each required miracles of time, reaching an access hatch. He pushed it open with care. They emerged into a tall shaft lined with blinking modules, the heart of station transmissions. A single ladder climbed 50 feet to the array platform. Below, machinery hummed like deep ocean. Alex gestured upward. Leora whispered, "Key code for fleet override is literal for 9. He repeated it twice to memorize. Then they climbed. Every rung vibrated with distant impacts as Marines hammered on bulkheads below. At the platform, Alex plugged his wrist unit into the master console. Static snowed across the screen. But after a reset, the board lit green, ready for code. Leora. Lean close, voice steady, literal for 9. Alex typed. A prompt asked for biometric royal seal. Leora extended the cuffed hand. He placed her thumb on the reader. Purple light scan. Access granted. The transmitter warmed. Dish motors outside pivoting. Alex patched external speakers. 2. Your stage. He said. Liora spoke, firm and earnest. She confessed the rebellion's birth in response to imperial massacres, called for ceasefire, promised amnesty to units that laid down arms, and described Alex's kindness saving her life. She ended with a plea. Let us choose a future ruled by reason, not fear. Alex watched signal strength spike as the message streamed. Within seconds, return pings bloomed across the scope ship captains opening channels, some encoding surrender. Queries, others spewing threats. The fleet was suddenly noisy with debate. Below, the Marines pounding at maintenance doors ceased. Alex imagined them listening, hearts caught. But a new danger surfaced. An energy spike on scanners. The Imperial flagship charging rail cannons. At the station, a captain loyal to peace might pause. Yet flagship command followed only the Emperor. They planned to silence us by erasing the station, Alex said. Voice low. Liora clenched her fist. Then we must escape before the shot. Alex tapped calculations. 30 minutes until they align guns. Escape pods are at Deck 1 across open halls. Footsteps echoed on ladder rungs. Marines had found the shaft. Alex slung his empty stun rifle. Time to run. He breathed. Side by side. Guard and Queen descended the ladder into red emergency light, carrying with them a fragile chance for peace and the promise of greater trials before dawn. Alex and Leora sprinted down the ladder, boots ringing on each metal rung. Hot air blasted up the shaft as Marines cut through the deck above, sparks showering like angry fireflies. Alex's hands burned on the rails, but he kept moving, counting each breath. Leora followed just behind, one wrist still chained, the iron links clinking in frantic rhythm. Beneath them, the maintenance hatch opened to quarter Delta 9, a dim passage that led toward the station's main spine and, beyond that, the escape pod ring on Deck 1. They hit the floor hard. Alex scanned both ways. Left tunnel showed broken lights and drifting smoke. Right tunnel glowed red with emergency strips. He chose the red glow. Smoke meant fire, and fire meant leaking oxygen. This way, he whispered, though footsteps echoed anyway. Loudspeakers crackled. All personnel surrender the rebel queen. A low male voice, smooth and cold. Your deaths serve nothing. The message repeated in 3 languages, but the speakers distorted, making the words sound hollow. Almost tired. Liora single quotes as lips tightened. That is Admiral Vora's, she said. He executes rivals, then sends tape condolences. Good to know. Alex replied, jogging beside her. I plan to skip his condolences. They passed a viewing port and glimpsed the Imperial flagship. Outside, a silver spear larger than the station. Its forward rail cannon arrays gleamed. Computer estimates earlier said 30 minutes until firing alignment. Alex's wrist unit now flashed 22. Adrenaline spiked. We are cutting it close. Ahead, half a dozen prisoners, humans, and Azeri rebels clustered near a bulkhead, hands raised, guarded by 2 station volunteers with stun batons. Supplies had run so thin that only volunteers could still stand guard. Alex waved, need. Clear path to pods. The volunteer leader, Sergeant Duarte, turned. His eyes widened when he saw Leora. She's our prisoner. Not anymore, Alex said, still panting. She's our way out, he briefed them, flagship aiming to vaporize. The station, broadcast already spreading truce message, need to reach pods fast. Duarte frowned but stepped aside. One Azeri prisoner bowed to Leora, respectful yet weary. My queen. Is peace real? Peace begins with living, she answered. Help these humans. And we all earn the dawn. Duarte snapped baton ends. Together, right then, we escort. He and one volunteer fell in behind, guiding the mixed group. They pushed forward, passing storage bays stripped bare. Lockers hung open like empty mouths. Alex's stomach clenched at the memory of ration shortages. Leora noticed his pause. She slipped him a folded nutrient disc she had tucked in her sleeve beat. She urged. He chewed as they walked, salty. Moss taste bringing a spark of strength. Sudden gunfire cracked ahead. Alex flattened against the wall. Duarte dragged to prisoner's back. Sparks burst from ceiling panels. A rail slug had ricocheted through conduit trunks, leaving glowing holes. Imperial Marines had reached Pod Junction Alpha. No alternate path existed. The pods circled the station in one quarter. Alex inhaled slow. I need to talk, he said. He edged forward until he could peer around a corner. 3 Marines in white armor covering the pods, rifles ready, visors reflecting red. Strobes. Beyond them, 6 pods waited, hatches open, blinking green. Cover me, Alex told Duarte, who lifted his stun baton like a child's toy against tanks. Alex lowered his rifle, showing palms. Don't shoot. I'm sending someone out. Loud clicks echoed as safeties disengaged. Alex stepped halfway into view. She wants to address you. He gestured. Leora appeared beside him, chin high. Breath caught in every throat. The Marines froze, conflict clear in their posture. Leora spoke Azeri. My loyal storm guard, hear truth. The Emperor fears words, not bullets. Lower weapons and leave this place alive. One Marine shifted weight. Another muttered. The squad leader shook his head violently. Orders are orders. He lifted rifle. Alex reacted first, firing stun burst at the leader. Blue arcs danced. The man dropped. Leora seized the moment. Stand down. 2 remaining Marines glanced at each other, then laid rifles on the deck. Duarte's volunteers rushed forward, securing guns. Alex bound the stunned leader with zip ties, then unlocked the pods. 14 seats, 21 people, he counted. We packed tight. They split into crews. Leora insisted Alex share her pod. Duarte led another group. One unarmed Marine asked to join. Leora allowed it, signaling trust and sewing that across Imperial ranks. Alex sealed pod door. Interior. Lights turned soft blue. Console flicked flight ready. Course? He asked. Vector 3-1. Leora suggested. Points between fleet lines. Away from flagship firing arc. Alex punched coordinates. Thrusters hummed. Pods launched one by one. Magnetic clamps releasing with metallic thunks. Acceleration. Pushed them into seat harnesses. Through tiny viewport Alex saw the station receding. Scarred by open wounds where boarding craft still clung. External speakers from the flagship boomed across vacuum orders to hold fire. No. Status unclear. Timer read 15 minutes. Pod computers pinged incoming transmissions. Azeri escort corvettes asking for direction. Human frigates picking up. Distress. Cheddar thick with confusion after Leora's earlier broadcast. Alex patched audio. Many voices overlapped, but one truth repeated. Is the Queen alive? Followed by human guard protected her. Leora listened, eyes shining. Your kindness travels faster than light, she told Alex, voice soft. Thrusters cut. Pods entered. Coasting. Collision alerts screamed. 3 Imperial fighters diving toward them. Alex's pulse spiked. No weapons on pods except emergency flares. They'll hurt us back. Leora leaned to make. Imperial fighters L-6, stand down. This is Queen Leora. Code PHR Gamma. Fighters veered but still tracked. A new growl sounded. Rebel corvettes bursting from fold space. Blue engine tails bright. They slid between pods and fighters, shielding fragile capsules. Laser flashes. Traded. One fighter spiraled, disabled but not destroyed. The other two pulled away. Alex exhaled. Friends arrived, yet the flagship loomed, rail cannons glowing amber. Tracking lines pointed not just at the station now, but also at the corvettes. Admiral Vora's intended to wipe every rebel ship in line of sight. Pod scanners showed power surge 10 minutes to firing. Corvettes hailed, Queen. We can't break line. Need flagship shutdown code. Leora closed her eyes, thinking, I know half of the code, she said finally, the first half. The second half belongs to my late brother. But there is another way trigger auto cutoff. By forcing rail barrels below safe temperature threshold. That needs coolant override from inside flagship command. Alex understood. A sabotage team. Yes, she agreed. And only someone. The Admiral underestimates can reach those valves. They shared a look. Pods lacked long-range drive. But rebel corvettes could ferry a small crew. Alex checked time. 8 minutes. Set rendezvous. He told the corvette commander, dock us. Pod thrusters fired again. Hatch clamps clicked as corvette bay doors swallowed them. Inside smelled of ozone and metal dust. Rebel engineers saluted Leora, glancing curiously at Alex's Earth uniform. Within 2 minutes a plan formed. Leora and Alex, plus one tech, would slip into the flagship through a maintenance conduit used by torpedo loaders. They would reach coolant control. Dump cryogas into barrels, forcing auto shutdown. Risk of capture high, but without action thousands would die. Duarte single quotes S-Pod. Now docked to a different corvette, would shepherd prisoners to safer space. Alex sent quick farewell via comm. Duarte replied, buy us a dawn. Corvette engines roared. They accelerated toward the flagship, staying in its sensor shadow. 5 minutes to firing. Rebel Tech Lacey handed Alex a compact pulse pistol, small but lethal at close range. One shot each cell, she warned. Make them count. Alex secured Leora's remaining cuff to his belt. Symbol of trust and caution both, she smirked. We leave as prisoner and guard, arrive as peacemakers. Approach lights dimmed as they slid under the flagship's dorsal fin. Lacey cut engines. Matching drift, magnetic clamps fired, locking them to a maintenance hatch no bigger than a cupboard. Door dot countdown, 3 minutes. LYSI cut panel, rewired bypass. Hatch hissed open, icy air gusted out. Alex led, pulse pistol ready. Leora followed. Chain silent now. Narrow conduit curved downward toward the heart of Imperial firepower. Back in the Corvette bay, crew watched sensors rail cannons nearing. Critical heat, but still charging. Every second felt like gravity on their chests. Alex glanced at Leora, whispering, time to melt some guns, Your Majesty. She answered with a fierce grin. Together, they vanished into shadows, racing against a clock that ticked for both war and peace. Alex, Leora, and the rebel tech Lacey slid along the narrow service tunnel, knees scraping cold steel. The flagship's hull thrummed with power as superheaters pushed current into the rail cannons. Each surge rattled loose bolts and made the lights in the conduit flicker. Every flicker reminded Alex that time dripped away like coolant from a cracked pipe. Lacey kept one hand on a wrist tablet showing a simple line map. Her soft mutter guided them 30 meters forward, then left. Junction coolant manifold room. She also tracked the heat curve of the main barrels. Red numbers climbed toward danger. For minutes to firing lock, they reached a grated hatch. Through the mesh, Alex saw a torpedo loading bay lit by white strips. Loaders in gray uniforms operated drones that ferried warheads. No one expected intruders in this forgotten crawlspace. Alex eased the hatch, rusted hinges squealed, and he froze. But the loaders joked loudly about shore leave, covering the noise. He slipped out first. Pulse pistol up, signaling Leori and Lacey to follow. Keeping behind crates, they moved toward a maintenance elevator short lift that rose one level to coolant control. The panel required a key chip. Leora whispered, Imperial engineers pin chips on belts. Alex nodded, crept to a lone mechanic checking gauges, and tapped his shoulder. When the man turned, startled, Alex jabbed with the pistol set to stun. Blue arc thud. Alex caught the limp body and removed the belt chip. Gil pricked him, but the mechanic would wake soon, alive. They rode the lift up. Doors parted to reveal the manifold chamber, a low, circular space humming with pumps and cryo tanks tall as trees. Vapors drifted around valves glowing pale blue. One central console governed flow. Above it, a holo display showed rail barrel temperature at 91% of redline. 3 minutes left. Alex hurried to the console. Lacey plugged her tablet. Fingers flying. "I'll dump maximum coolant," she said. "But safety's block override without command badge." "Badge," Leora repeated. Tapping the lone cuff around her wrist, Admiral Vors carries highest rank in person. Her eyes narrowed. Footsteps echoed outside, security team approaching. Alex glanced around, found an engineer's coat hanging on a hook, and tossed it to Leora. "Wear this. Blend in." She smiled briefly, slipping it over her white tunic, tucking chain under folds. The security squad entered for armored Marines, led by Captain Wren, a woman whose scarred cheek told old stories. She scanned the room, frowning at strangers. Identified, Alex felt the pistol heavy hidden behind a pipe. He forced calm. "Maintenance team," he said, voice flat. "Overheat alarms, Section Delta." Wren stepped closer, eyeing his Earth uniform under the borrowed vest. Suspicion sharpened her gaze. Leora moved between them, speaking Azeri fluently, tone bored. "Routine purge, Captain. The Admiral does not want a burnt barrel embarrassing the fleet again." The captain's posture eased. No one dared risk Vors's anger. She waved a quick salute and turned away, leading her team to perimeter posts. For the first time since boarding, Alex allowed himself a slow breath. Lacey whispered, 1 minute 50. "Need badge or physical valve break." Alex scanned the room. A red case on the wall read manual override wrench. He smashed the glass with his elbow, grabbed the giant silver tool. "If software says no, we turn the tap ourselves." Leora moved to the biggest valve 2 meters wide, sealed by servo motors. Alex wedged the wrench onto the axle. Lacey killed power to that motor. Lights dimmed. The valve moaned. Muscles burned as Alex heaved, feet slipping on frost. Leora braced. Beside him, both hands gripping where one cuff allowed. Metal cried but shifted a hair. Cold gas leaked, frosting their sleeves. 60 seconds. Harder, Leora urged, voice tight. Alex thought of farm robots, of saving a leaking pump at age 12, of Commander Lee's faith, of shared protein bars, of a queen's offered honey. He gritted teeth and pushed. The valve jerked a full turn. Alarms wailed, coolant flooded pipes. Barrel temperature on the holo spun downward. Lacey crowed softly, auto shutdown triggered. An explosion rocked overhead cannon capacitors venting into space. Gravity plates flickered, sending everyone stumbling. Security Marines yelled, weapons raising. Wren shouted, "Treachery!" Alex lifted the pulse pistol, but too slow. A Marine fired. The slug grazed his left shoulder. Tearing cloth and flesh, he spun, pain searing, and dropped behind a cryo tank. Leora snatched the pistol from his loose grip, eyes blazing. "No killing." Alex rasped, "Stun only." She nodded, switched shot mode, and stepped into view like a storm queen. To quick burst dropped leading Marines. Wren fired back. Leora ducked, chain swinging, then slammed the wrench into a pipe, releasing a white plume that blinded Wren long enough for Lacey to stun her from the side. Silence followed except for alarms and the steady hiss of safe coolant. Barrel heat fell below danger lines. Firing sequence aborted. The flagship could no longer destroy the station or the corvettes. Alex pressed a bandage pad over his shoulder. Leora knelt, worry shading her regal calm. "Deep, clean pass," he said through clenched teeth. "Hurts like childhood tetanus shot times 20. Lacey patched the wound with sealant foam. "We must leave before reinforcements." She pointed toward a service ladder leading downward to lifeboat passages. But a deep voice echoed across the chamber speakers. "Queen Leora." Admiral Voris had tapped internal comms. "I commend your bravery. Surrender. And your companions live. Continue sabotage, and I vent every deck between you and freedom." Alex whispered, "He bluffs. He needs crew." Laura's eyes narrowed. She walked to the main mic and replied, "Open the brig and broadcast every record of your massacres and I will consider surrender. Vora's laughed, cold and short. So be it. Warning sirens changed pitch. Bulkhead purge initiated on deck 11, far below coolant room. Lacey cursed. He is venting prisoners first. Making an example, Alex's mind raced. If we cut power to purge motors, we stop it. The feed lines for bulkhead seals run through the central trunk 3 floors down. Laura grabbed his uninjured arm. You cannot fight while bleeding. Then you direct, Alex said. I still have one good hand. They hurried toward the ladder. Lacey stayed to lock coolant valves in place, rigging them to freeze if power restored. Alex and Leora descended, echoes chasing them. Deck 11's purge lights pulsed red. Air roared through cracks as huge pumps tried to suck atmosphere. Prisoners inside cells pounded on doors. Alex staggered but kept forward. At junction node he found the purge control box, bright orange, guarded by 2 techs with stun pistols. Leora stepped forward, chain flashing. Stand down. She ordered an imperial tongue. The tech's hesitated royal voice crashed against. Fear? Alex took their paws, lunged, and triggered pulse stun at the floor between them. Orcs danced. Both fell twitching. Leora yanked the lever to manual safe. Let's turn amber. His faded. Oxygen normalized. Prisoners behind glazed doors cheered weakly. Among them Alex saw Commander Lee, bruised but alive. She saluted through glass. Alex gave a tired thumbs up. Internal comms blared again, this time not Vora's, but multiple ship captains demanding ceasefire, citing the Queen's authority and the sabotage proof. Fleet consensus shifted. The flagship bridge now faced mutiny if it continued. Alex heard distant clatter, perhaps fighting in those corridors. Laura touched her cuff, eyes glassy with hope. The tide turns, she whispered. Alex leaned against the wall, dizzy. Let's make sure it stays turned. He keyed the release, unlocking the cuff at last. She caught it before it hit the deck, symbol falling with old chains. They freed Lee and other detainees, arming them with confiscated pistols. Lee clasped Alex's good shoulder. You look awful, Corporal. Fashion has never been my skill. He joked weakly. Duarte's voice crackled over an open band he had secured orbit with mixed crews. Human and Azeri. Reinforcements from both governments were warping in, ready to negotiate. Lacey arrived, reporting coolant locks holding firm, rail cannons frozen for 12 hours, she said proudly. They are ice sculptures, guns still fired in distant halls, but hope had entered the flagship like light through cracked armor. Alex, shoulder burning, glanced at Leora. Her violet eyes shone with unshed tears, victory mixed with mourning for every drop of blood spilled. To reach this moment, the corridor lights flickered again, but not from weapons, just from power grid stabilizers resetting after overload. A gentle white glow replaced red. In that calm, Leora reached into her pocket and pulled the small Azeri crystal box, the same gift she had once planned to present after peace. She placed it in Alex's trembling hand. Open it when the shooting stops, she whispered. I want you to see the future you helped create. Alex managed a faint, grateful smile. Outside, alarms fell quiet, leaving only the steady hum of life support the sound of a ship choosing breath over fire. The flagship floated in uneasy silence. Heavy guns were frozen blocks of ice, and damaged crews sealed broken bulkheads instead of loading shells. Soft white light filled each corridor, as if the ship itself had decided to breathe again. Alex Parker stood near the medical bay door, shoulder wrapped in fresh bandages. He felt every pulse of the painkiller patch, but he stayed on his feet. New duties waited, and hope was a better medicine than rest. Queen Leora walked beside him. The engineers had cut away the last piece of the chain that once bound her wrist. A faint red bruise marked the skin, but her posture was tall and sure. When crew members, human and Azeri alike, passed them, they bowed or nodded with cautious respect. Old enemies moved around each other like strangers who suddenly realized they shared the same hometown. Commander Lee met them outside the bay, still bruised yet full of sharp energy. Fleet Council ships will arrive in 2 hours, she reported. Each side asks for neutral ground to sign a ceasefire. The engineering hangar is the largest clear space we have. We will hold it there, Leora said. And we invite everyone, bridge officers, loaders, prisoners, even the cooks. Lee's eyebrow lifted at that, but she understood. Peace made in secret rooms might break. Peace made while all watch could last. She pressed the data pad into Alex's good hand. You'll stand security for the event, but use judgment more than weapons. Alex smiled. That is my specialty, ma'am. A small group headed for the hangar to prepare. Duarte arrived with his volunteers, cheeks smudged from battle smoke yet grinning wide. He clasped Alex's uninjured shoulder. We lived, partner. The stories will drink themselves for yours. 60 minutes later, the main hangar transformed. Cargo crates became benches. Damaged fighter panels turned into banners showing both emblems, the blue spiral of the United Earth Fleet and the white starburst of the Azeri Rebellion. Engineers strung simple lights, bright but warm. The floor still carried scorch marks, a quiet reminder of the fight that brought them here. Alex moved along the edge, pulse pistol holstered but visible. He nodded greetings, offered calm smiles, and scanned for hidden anger. He found only weariness and flickers of wonder. Admiral Vors arrived under heavy guard. His uniform looked pressed as always, but defeat weighed on his eyes. Rebellion captains and human commanders surrounded him, not to threaten, but to witness. The admiral's voice, once smooth as polished steel, was hoarse. I will sign, he said, because a dead queen speaks louder than a living tyrant, and she chose to live. Laura stepped forward. No tyrants today, she answered quietly. Only those willing to rebuild. The treaty table was a simple crate draped with a repair tarp. Digital pads displayed the terms, ceasefire, prisoner release, shared aid routes, and an independent council to judge war crimes on all sides. Each representative wrote their name with a stylus. When it was Alex's turn, he hesitated, feeling out of place among high ranks. Leora touched his elbow. Sign as guardian, she whispered. Peace needed one. He wrote Alex Parker, guardian, using careful strokes of plain English. The line looked small under grand titles, yet it felt heavier than any metal. Cheers rose when the final signature appeared. Some sounded like relieved sobs. Others clapped softly, still stunned that the war had paused because the people shared water in a lonely cell. Food followed, simple ration bars, nutrient discs, and hot broth from field kitchens. To Alex, the broth tasted better than any banquet. Leora accepted a cup and lifted it high. To every brave soul who chose mercy, she said. The crowd echoed her words. Music drifted from a maintenance drone rigged as a speaker. An Azeri flute melody blended with an earth acoustic rhythm. To tunes once discordant now making new harmony, crew members with mismatched uniforms began slow dances, unsure but smiling. Alex slipped away to a quiet corner near the observation window. Stars beyond cracked panels shone steady. He remembered the farm roof when night clouds parted. How he dreamed of touching distant suns. Now he had touched one and helped cool its rage. Laura joined him, holding the crystal box. She pressed it into his hands. You deserve your gift. I still feel unworthy, he admitted. Kindness is never unworthy, she replied, voice gentle. Alex opened the box. Inside lay the signet ring of royal kinship, a band of silver-black metal inlay with a tiny violet gem that matched her eyes. Fine lines of Azeri script circled the stone. He traced one letter, speaking its English meaning aloud. Harmony. Laura continued, my people follow tradition. Giving this ring makes you my equal in council and clan. It also names you Star Shield, a guardian bound to the throne. She smiled shyly. There is no rule against a human wearing it. Alex felt lightheaded. Does that mean I must learn royal etiquette? Only patience and honesty, she said. The rest we write together. He slid the ring onto his right index finger. It adjusted size automatically. Warmth spread along his hand. Not from technology, but from purpose. He realized the farm boy dream never included power, only the chance to help. This ring meant he would help whole planets. Voices behind them grew louder. A message from the fleet council ships they had entered orbit. Celebration paused for a moment of formal salute. External ports opened, releasing light drones that painted the sky with silent sparks, not weapons, but ribbons of blue and white. Every head in the hangar tilted back to watch Dudley approach, saluting both of them. Incoming delegates request you to meet them at the airlock. Symbol matters. Alex tilted an imaginary hat. Then we walk, he said. They started down the corridor. Side by side, Duarte jogged ahead to clear the path, while Lacey waved. From a console where she already drafted plans to convert ion cannons into asteroid tow cables. Turning swords into plows. As they neared the airlock, Laura glanced at Alex's wounded shoulder. After this you rest, she ordered softly. After this, he agreed, we both rest. Maybe on a world where rain still falls, and where honey flows, she added, remembering the sweet packet he once shared. They stepped through the final bulkhead. Delegates waited, formal but hopeful. Cameras recorded. History books opened a fresh page. Alex offered his hand. Leora took it, their fingers closing round the promise of tomorrow. No chains remained, only the small ring shining like a dawn. Star dot outside, the quiet coolant drip inside the old warship at last stopped, repaired. Only a steady hum of life support remained, a gentle sound of living breaths shared by all. Peace was fragile, yes, but it had a heartbeat now, and to hearts to guard it. And so a tired human soldier and a once rebellious alien queen walked into the future. Neither prisoner nor conqueror, but partners, proof that kindness could turn steel into shelter and fury into song.